Sandals Resorts, 15 all-inclusive Caribbean vacation resorts. Phone 888-784-7064. Tuesday weather forecast, mostly sunny skies today. The high temperature 70 to 75, southeast wind 5 to 10. Mostly clear overnight, about 42 to 48. Mostly sunny Wednesday, the high in the mid-70s, a little bit warmer. And a little bit warmer Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny, the high each day about 75 to 80. Your life, your music, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. The US is urging calm in Kirkuk after Iraqi government forces took the city and key oil installations nearby from Kurdish control. A judge in Spain has jailed 2 Catalan independence campaigners. The EU and the UK have agreed Brexit negotiations should accelerate in coming months. And parts of the UK are being buffeted by heavy winds and rain as what used to be Hurricane Ophelia moves across the country.
It's 9:01.
Community Conversations is brought to you by Arkansas Early Learning, offering no-cost childcare in Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday to you. I hope that you're having a great start to this chilly morning. You're tuned into Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I am your host, Quabila Hardin, and I have 2 very special guests with me today, Ms. Annie Thompson and Ms. Anna Page Frying. Okay, I'm hopefully going to say that properly.
You got it.
Okay. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. They are here. They are here representing the NEA Charitable Foundation, Share Hope Organization, and the Center for
Good Grief.
For Good Grief.
Yes,
Okay. And so first, they're going to give some introduction of themselves to let you know who they are and what they do. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Annie Thompson. I'm the Share Hope Program Coordinator. I am an LCSW, so that's a licensed clinical social worker, and I graduated from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville.
Okay.
Before coming to Northeast Arkansas, I worked as education coordinator for Up With People International.
Okay.
And when I left that, I found my way to NEA and started working in mental health.
Okay. Now, had you always wanted to do mental health when you were working on your social work degree?
You know, I thought I would do a mixture of mental health and kind of administrative social work, fundraising, and event planning. And so now that I've landed in the Share Hope and the NEA Charitable Foundation, I found the way to mesh the two. So I get to do some mental health work and still do the other side, the nonprofit side of it.
That is totally awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. All right, Miss Anna.
Yes, ma'am. So I am Anna Page Fine, and I have an MSW from the University of Arkansas. And after that, I spent a year doing an AmeriCorps program in Chicago, and I worked on the south side of Chicago at a food pantry for Catholic Charities. And I really loved that experience, and so I moved back to Arkansas after that. And like Annie, I got back into mental health. It was something, mental health and working in therapy was something I always wanted to do with my social work degree. And so I'm really excited to be able to be a part of the NEA Baptist Center for Good Grief.
Okay, so where were you originally from, even though you went to school at University U of A?
Well, I am originally from Brinkley, Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so very close.
Lee County.
Yes, well, Monroe County, but close.
Monroe, okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm Lee County, Mariana.
Awesome. Yeah, I worked there last year in Mariana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did.
It's a small world. And where are
is.
you originally from?
I went to high school in Lake Village, Arkansas, so it's in the
Okay.
very southeastern corner.
Oh, wow. All right, so you ladies have been around and traveled and shared your experience with other people and really making your mark in the world. I'm really happy to have you here to share.
Thank you.
Have you here to share your experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about let's go into a little bit about the NEA Charitable Foundation. We've had the director on, but it's been a while.
Okay.
So just want to refresh people about what that is.
Well, the Charitable Foundation is completely free services. There are 6 different sections of it. I'm just going to read them out so that we don't skip anything accidentally. There's Hope Circle, the Center for Healthy Children, and Wellness Works. We have medication assistance, Share Hope, and then the newest one is the Center for Good Grief.
Okay. And so let's get into Share Hope and Center for Good Grief. Many people know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's like the big one. But there are many other health and social awareness issues, such as pregnancy and infancy loss. Let's talk about what that is.
Yeah, October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And basically, this month, Share Hope is just doing different things to support families who have lost a child during pregnancy or stillbirth or in the first few months of life. Okay. We kind of kick-started the month with the Share Hope Walk of Remembrance and Hope, and we did a balloon release and a memorial service.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh wow, I try to keep up on Facebook and I see different pictures of events that are going on. I try my best to share everything, but sometimes some things get away from you. But I'm sure that the families that you serve are very appreciative of the services that you offer by allowing them to come out and fellowship with other people, other families that are sharing the same experience.
Right, I mean often pregnancy loss or even infant loss is something that people don't like to talk about, and even support family members and supportive friends, they think, oh, let's just help them move on and move forward in life. And so I think having time to be around people who have dealt with the same experiences and the same tragic loss is really special, because as a parent, you love to talk about your children, even if they were only with you for a short time. And so to be in a situation where you can openly say, this was my child's name and these are the memories that I have, I mean, that's very special.
Wow. I think one thing some family members need to understand, that just because you talk about a loss doesn't mean you're still quote unquote grieving. You just need to open up. You just need to be allowed to share that memory. Right. And sharing the joy of that moment, even though it ended soon, but there was still some joy in that moment. And you just want to talk about it, be able to talk about it without everyone else around you getting sad.
Right. Well, grief is an act of love. There is not an ability to grieve if you did not have love for the person that you lost. So I think being able to talk about the loss, even if it is a pregnancy, early pregnancy, it shows that you had this intense love for the future of that child. And losing that, even if you lose it very quickly, is still a loss.
Yes, ma'am. Most definitely. And so, how long has the Share Hope organization been operation? I'm sorry.
No, well, it's been a part of NEA Baptist for about 10 years. This was yes, in next year's Walk of Remembrance and Hope will be the 10th walk at NEA Baptist.
So I'm sure this is going to be a huge celebration.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we make it something that's memorable for the families, and maybe take it a little bit to the next level from the things that they've done in the past, and bringing even more of the families, because I think sometimes people participate in Share Hope when the loss is new and fresh, and then they kind of trickle off, and that's appropriate for their life. They move on to different things that are going on, but I do hope that in the next year's walk that we bring back a lot of the families that have used this service in the past.
And I think that'll be very helpful for the ones that are going through a new loss to see and talk with families who it has been, say, 5 or more years, to see how they have transitioned in life.
I agree.
Okay, and so then we have the Center
for Good Grief.
Center for Good Grief.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
long has it been in operation?
Well, the NEA Baptist Center for Good Grief is actually opening today. So this is our grand opening. We are having the ribbon cutting ceremony today. People are welcome to come out to the center starting at 5 o'clock. We're going to be giving tours of the center, and then we'll have the actual ribbon cutting at 5:30. And so everyone's welcome. Our address, just so everyone knows where it is 1717 Executive Square here in Jonesboro. But just to go into a little bit of the history of the Center for Good Grief. So the original one is in Collierville, and it's called the Kimmons Wilson Center for Good Grief. And the idea started about 20 years ago because the hospice centers at Baptist in Tennessee started to recognize a need. Okay. You know, your family, you go through the process of death and dying, and then what's after that? You know, what resources are out there? And so they started a camp for children, and soon after for teens, called Camp Good Grief. Okay. And they actually got the rights from the creator of Peanuts and Charlie Brown to use that. Mm-hmm. And so they started this camp, and it was for children who had experienced a death of a loved one. Right. Could have been a sibling, a parent, anyone they were close to. And so they could come and be with others and talk about their loss with others, to share that loss, because that's so important in grief, is to be able to share your story and to get it from the inside to the outside, especially with people who understand and who have experienced similar tragedies or losses in their lives. And so the camp started, and then they realized, what about the other almost 365 days of the year? So we have this camp, but the families need support. Some people definitely need therapy throughout the year. And so through generous donations and funding, they were able to open the Kimmons Wilson Center for Good Grief. Okay. And a few years ago, they were actually able to build their own center, which is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful centers I've been to. And they provide therapy, individual therapy for children, for teens, adults, family, and also group therapy. Yeah. And so we're an offshoot of that, and we are funded through the NEA Baptist Charitable Foundation. Okay. So it's all in Northeast Arkansas. We've had a lot of generous donors, from the Fowler family to the Ritter family. Mid-America Transplant and Gamble's donated our furniture. So it's really been a community effort, which is really cool to see.
Is absolutely amazing.
Yes, ma'am.
The really amazing thing about all the Centers for Good Grief is that it's a completely free service. Mm-hmm. There's no billing insurance, there's no out-of-pocket fees, there's no limit on how many times somebody could come. It's completely funded through donors, and there's no diagnosing. You know, in the mental health world, grief is not a diagnosable mental health illness. So we don't have to worry about that at the NEA Baptist Center for Good Grief. If you have a loss and you need to meet with a therapist, you have a licensed therapist ready to meet with you free of cost.
Right. That is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. So can you give us more of a direction of where Executive Square is, so that people can find you?
Sure. Yeah. We can do that. So Executive Square is off of Browns Lane. Okay. So if you're on Highland and you're driving towards Southwest Drive, Browns Lane, you just turn left on Browns Lane, and Executive Square is before you get to Barton's. So if you know where Barton's Lumber is, it's just a couple of blocks down from Barton's.
Okay. And so how are these two organizations, well, of course, I hate to say it's obvious, but tell us how these two organizations are going to work hand in hand.
Well, with Share Hope, it's a support service and it's a ministry, and so we do have support groups, but I am hoping that for families that are needing a little bit more than just support services, if they do need to meet with a therapist, that now we can bridge that gap and get them in. I'll be working at the Center for Good Grief as a therapist, and also for Share Hope. And so if families want to see me because they already know me, then that's great. But if they don't, because they are seeing me through Share Hope, then they could see the other therapists that are there. The support groups may be meeting at the Center for Good Grief. We have a really beautiful conference room, so that might be set up for some of the support groups to meet there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. From your experience as a social worker, have you encountered anyone that felt they didn't need any counseling after a loss? And how can I say this? Okay, they maybe felt like they didn't need help, but you being the licensed professional, you saw that they really could have benefited from help. And it's not about getting on with your life as if that didn't happen, but getting through your life.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think that definitely is the case. And especially, a lot of people think, and some people are able to get through, or not even get through, but just to live with the grief and the loss without needing the extra help. But there are others who maybe didn't know resources were available, or who were afraid to reach out. Because with mental health, there is still a stigma there in a way. Oh, I don't need help with my grief. I'll get through it on my own. But, I think that anyone can benefit from being able to tell their story, to be able to process those emotions that they're feeling, to be able to say, hey, this did affect me more than I thought. Because grief is something that it may come up 10 years down the road. It may come up 20 years down the road when you experience other big life events.
Okay.
Maybe it's a wedding, or maybe it's just a holiday where you were used to seeing a person and celebrating with them. That's when grief can bubble up, and you start to think, well, maybe there's some things that I haven't quite processed or thought about that counseling can be a very good thing to be able to talk about those things.
Now, with the Center for Good Grief, you say you counsel anyone, pretty much any age. It doesn't matter how long the incident happened.
No. Yeah. I mean, the loss could have happened years ago, and if they feel like they need services now, we're ready to see them.
I wish something like this was more available. And I'm not going to just get in too much into I lost my mother when I was young. And I wish something was more available.
Right.
Then, like you said, it takes a while to grieve. When it first happened, I was fine. I was getting ready for my senior year in high school. Kept moving like nothing happened. But 6 months down the line, when it was time for Christmas, that was our time because she lived in Texas.
Right.
So anyway, it really hit me then.
Yeah.
So definitely could have used some. But
Well, and I think also sometimes the first thing that we experience with a loss is shock, and trying to take a step back and even see how the loss is going to affect our lives. And I think sometimes once that initial shock wears off is when really the other stages hit you of like, okay, this is coming in waves, and some of them I can handle a little bit easier than others.
Yes.
But grief is the most universal difficulty there is. Nobody gets through life without having some sort of loss. If we have any type of close relationships, you're likely to experience grief at some point.
Yes, ma'am. Most definitely.
Yes. And you mentioned the holidays, and that is one of the hardest things to go through at any point after a loss. And one thing that we are going to offer in the next month is a holiday workshop. And that is going to be on November 9th. We will have information on the Charitable Foundation website for NEA Baptist. And you can also call us or email us for details. I'll give you the phone number so you can have it, but it's 870-936-7719. And so this workshop, we're just going to have several of our therapists there to talk through some ways to get through the holidays after the death of a loved one. And it's open to the community, and sometimes it can be a very overwhelming time for people. So it's good to get a little instruction or a little bit of information about how to get through the holidays.
Alrighty. Do you often find people are riddled with guilt of moving on, and so they may face criticism from other family members or friends because they seemingly are okay versus just waddled in sadness? Do you deal with that often?
Yes, everybody handles grief in their own way. It has to be unique to how you are going to heal and reconcile what your new normal is going to look like. Some people, they tend to do that in a more lighthearted way. I even think children can sometimes be much more resilient to grief than some other people, but it all is just unique to the person's personality. But definitely if they have guilt because of how other people are treating them, then that's just another layer of things that they have to learn how to cope with to make it a little bit more complicated to move on with their grief. And one thing at the Grief Center, the Center for Good Grief, that we really emphasize is that grief is a lifelong thing. I mean, it's something that you learn how to cope with as your life moves forward, but it doesn't just go away.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you brought up children, at the Share Hope Center, do you talk with children one-on-one, or do you allow them to talk one-on-one away from their, just say if they come in with a parent, they lost a sibling, it was a sibling.
Right.
Sometimes children have emotions that they're either afraid to express around their parents or other family members, and they need that private time. So do you talk with them?
At the Center for Good Grief, when people come in for therapy services, it's really open to what they need. So if the family comes in and they say, we've got a child and we want services as a family, but maybe the child needs services on their own, we definitely could make the recommendation that I think that the child would make a little bit more progress if they had some individual time. And even though we're not billing through insurance and we're not diagnosing or any of those other types of mental health things, we also do have to follow HIPAA and confidentiality policies. We take that pretty seriously.
Yes,
so we definitely make a point to tell children that they have to give us permission to tell parents anything that they may not want their parents to know. The parents are given updates on things that we might think that are important for them, such as we did this activity, but we're not giving quotes from what the child said or anything that would seem private unless the child's ready to open up to their parents about that.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get ready for our first break. We are speaking with Miss Anna Fryan.
Good job.
And Miss Annie Thompson. They are here with the NEA Baptist Charitable Foundation programs, Share Hope and Center for Good Grief. And so we have been talking about pregnancy and infancy laws and grief in general. When we come back in the second part, they're going to share why it's important and why they have a personal connection working with these different organizations. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back after these announcements, but we do want to give a shout out to Miss Helen Scott, who is watching, and Miss June Bridger Morse, who says good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. So stay tuned and we'll be right back after these announcements.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Are you and your spouse caught in a difficult season of marriage? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. Every couple experiences rough patches, but not every couple reacts the same. Some give up, while others work to survive. So if you and your spouse are ready to move from a season of difficulty to a season of joy, here are 5 game changers to have a great marriage. First, stop comparing your marriage to an unrealistic standard. Understand that no matter how happy other couples seem on the surface, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage. Second, don't mistake temporary challenges for deal breakers. Keep in mind that most of the problems we face in marriage end up passing with time if we stick it out. Remember, your family first.
For more resources on today's topic, go to markmerrill.com.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Meineke of Jonesboro is now Starks Auto Service, a full-service auto repair and vehicle maintenance center offering engine and transmission repair, brake service, tires, oil changes, and more, performed by ASE certified mechanics. The all-new Starks Auto Service, 2813 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, 870-204-7112. Starks Auto Service, Jonesboro.com.
The Epic Center, located at 1899 Hasbrook Road, County Road 333, is Jonesboro's newest venue for entertainment for the entire family. They offer an auditorium with theater-style seating for up to 1,100 guests, a large stage, professional lighting and sound, dressing rooms, concessions, and more. Available for weddings, concerts, pageants, birthday parties, showers, and more. Booking and other information is available at Epic Center Jonesboro on Facebook, epiccenterjonesboro.com, and at 870-530-5841.
Did you know that KLEK 102.5 FM is a nonprofit organization? Did you know that you can donate to KLEK 102.5 FM and your donation is tax deductible? Donations to nonprofit organizations such as KLEK can reduce the amount of taxes you may owe the IRS or increase the amount of any potential tax refund. Support your KLEK today. You can donate by calling 870-277-1080, visiting our studio at 1411 Franklin Street in Jonesboro, or on our website www.klekfm.org. We at KLEK 102.5 FM are blessed and grateful for your support.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We're speaking with Miss Annie Thompson and Miss Anna Fryan from NEA Baptist Charitable Foundation. The organizations they represent today are Share Hope and Center for Good Grief.
You got it. Good job.
It's a mouthful, but I got it. Okay, so now we have been talking, well, in the first part of the show, we've been talking about what these different organizations offer to the community, to the families that are suffering from grief or loss of any kind, and more in particular, pregnancy and infant loss through the Share Hope, but the grief, Center for Good Grief deals with the families and individuals suffering from any type of loss.
Yes, ma'am.
And these are wonderful organizations that you really need to check out, and we'll make sure to pass on the information on how to get in contact with these young ladies so that you can get the help that you need. If you know someone that is going through a situation that can use their services, please direct them to these ladies. So now we're going to get into talking about why this is important for you all. We talked about basically, your education background and what led you here, but sometimes I always feel there's a deeper connection. You can work for any agency, but what is the connection with these agencies for you ladies?
Well, I'll start. Well, with Share Hope is really special to me because I'm also a Share Hope mom.
Okay.
So what that means is I've also had pregnancy loss. I've actually had 4 pregnancy losses at various stages in the pregnancies, and to have that support and kind of a community of other people is really important. I think the first couple of times that I had pregnancy losses, I kind of felt like it was taboo and that I should kind of go back on with my life and not really struggle. I think that a lot of people said things that weren't helpful to me, like, are we okay?
Yeah, it's just a little static.
A little staticky. People said things to me such as, well, better it happen now than later, or just things that didn't help me feel any better about the loss that I had. And I felt like I should just be happy and try again, and that I could always have a baby later on. And so to feel like that and to not have the support, to even feel like I was allowed to be sad, was really hurtful to me at those times. So when I found out about Share Hope, I was thankful that there was a place that offered support. They gave materials out, devotional books, all sorts of self-care items, and I really needed that at the time.
I guess maybe because I'm a different type of person, I can't fathom someone saying, I say get over it or move on, or like I can't even imagine someone trying to tell you, fixing their mouth to say something that's not uplifting and positive and empowering, like during that moment in your life when all you need is love and support and comfort.
Right. Well, I think that people try to say just about anything to help you feel better. And when they don't know what to say, sometimes they can find themselves saying something that's not helpful. And so part of Share Hope, or even the Center for Good Grief, is helping even the support family, because I had pregnancy losses, but my husband also had those losses too. And so what services are there for dads or grandparents who also are having to be the support member and deal with their own grief? And so as we move forward with Share Hope, I'm looking for feedback from the current Share Hope families for what other services could possibly be used. I mean, right now we offer a once a month support group, and it's a social time and support to get to talk about their story. But if there's other services that are needed, what about children who knew that their mom and dad were having a baby, and then the parents have to go back and say, we're not having a baby, we're not bringing a baby home anymore. So are there services that Share Hope could provide to those children? Or, so I'm open for suggestions. If any of the Share Hope families send me a message on our Share Hope Facebook group or reach out to me, I'd love to offer even more than Share Hope ever has.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I listened to you talk, just thinking people don't realize the impact it has on the whole family. I've had this conversation with individuals that have dealt with cancer or other illnesses that have led to death. We want to reach out to the immediate, let's just back up to pregnancy.
Yeah.
It's the mom that gets all of the majority of the comfort and, care. And then sometimes, and it's not, I don't think it's intentional all the time, but we do leave out the dad or the other children or other family members, the grandparents even.
Right.
Everyone was expecting this, new addition to the family, not just the mom. And I'm sorry, this is not to sound insensitive and take away from.
No, well, yeah, I understand.
But the whole family unit needs help. And then maybe, what if that person was very active in their church or on their job? Sometimes your close friends and coworkers may grieve with you as well.
Right.
So they may need a little bit of extra counseling.
Right.
You never know.
Yes, well, and this year was my first time to participate in the Share Hope Walk of Remembrance and Hope, which is at the end of Hope Week. And I got to see firsthand, some of the families came out with entire teams of people with shirts made for the babies that were lost and in support of the families. And it was really a beautiful thing. And really, when all of the balloons were released, it was really touching to see how many people were there to honor the memories of those babies and to show some love to those moms and dads who lost the children. In December, on December 6th, we have our Christmas candle lighting ceremony. It'll be at the NEA Baptist main campus in the prayer garden. We have a Christmas box angel. It's the only one in the state of Arkansas, and every year on December 6th, at every Christmas box angel statue, there is a ceremony to honor children that were lost. So that could be any loss at any age, so not even just pregnancy and infant loss, but any death of a child. And we do a name reading and a candle lighting service and a memorial there, and it's really special when you see those families come to support all the people who struggled with the death of that child. And it's not just the immediate family sometimes who struggles with that loss.
That's right. Now, do you offer opportunities for families that have had a loss, but it may say 5+ years? Do you offer them the opportunity to come and talk to your group to share their experiences and maybe how they I don't want to say get over, like that's just,
right.
I don't want to say that, but how they transitioned
absolutely
through life.
If there's anybody that's willing to share their grief story, I'd love for them to reach out to me. There's a lot of ways to get those people plugged in, and I think that maybe even that's how I came to be a part of Share Hope, is that my life was changing and transitioning, and I had really healed and reconciled with the loss of the children, and my life is looking different now than when those losses were happening. So I was more ready to take on this role. Had somebody asked me in the middle of all those losses, would you like to be the program coordinator of Share Hope? I absolutely would have not been ready, and I don't know that I would have been healthy for anybody. Okay. So when you are at a stage that you say, okay, I think I'm ready to help other people and share my story, then reach out to me. I'd love to help those people get plugged in with Share Hope.
How can you give us a time span of what happened in your life from the first loss to the fourth one?
Well, I had 2 pregnancy losses about 4 or 5 years ago, and then I had a successful pregnancy that gave me a beautiful daughter named Caroline, who's now 3 years old. Shortly after, really right around her first birthday, we found out we were pregnant again. Okay. And really I had no reason to think that there would be anything wrong with that pregnancy, because we had just had Caroline, and I thought, probably it's going to go the same as her. So we were preparing ourselves mentally for having 2 children so close in age. Okay. And we saw multiple ultrasounds with heartbeats and a growing baby. We saw arms and legs, and this baby was developing. And then really randomly, we went in and had an ultrasound and found out that the baby didn't have a heartbeat. Oh, no. And so that was very tragic, devastating for me and my husband. Even though we had already had the 2 previous losses, that was probably the hardest one, because we thought it was going so well. Months later, after we thought we were ready to try again, we found out we were pregnant, and very soon after that we found out we had lost that baby as well. And then since then we also have had another daughter, and who's now 16 months old. So, in my life, I always thought that I would be a mom. That's kind of, I went into marriage thinking, well, the next step is to have some babies, and I never really had health problems before then, so I didn't think there would be any difficulties with that. So when the losses happened, it was really hard for me to adjust to the idea that I may not be able to be a mom in a conventional way. And so I really struggled with that type of grief, not just the grief of the actual loss, but the grief of the idea of what my future was going to look like. And I found quite a few moms have reached out to me after they knew my personal story. They would message me on Facebook and say, I just had a miscarriage, and what if I'm not able to have children? And I think that that's a hard thing to sit back and say, what if this isn't what my future holds? And to have someone that's supportive that can say, I've been there and that's hard, and let's, love on each other through that while we work through what our future may hold for us.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that I can't even fathom what that would be like. I can say, sitting here watching you tell your story, you are very brave, courageous. I see that you have reached a point in your life where you can share this, and it has been helping other families deal with the same situation. Did you ever question your faith? Okay, God, why me? Why this? Did you ever get to a point where you just question everything about your existence, just everything about you?
I don't know if it was necessarily a question of my faith. Okay. And I don't know why not. I mean, there's even been times I've talked with my husband about that and said, it's kind of weird that at no point did I feel let down by God or anything like that. That's just not something that I personally struggled with. But I did question myself and maybe what my purpose was supposed to be. Because even as a young child, if on career day, if somebody said, well, Annie, what do you want to grow up and be? I would say mom. I want to be a mommy. And there's a drawing at my house in a scrapbook somewhere of a career day picture, and it's of me and just all these babies. I'm the youngest in a large family, and I just thought that's what was going to be my life. So when my own body wouldn't allow me to do that, I felt really betrayed. You know, what am I supposed to be doing if I can't do that and it's all my own body's fault? And I did really struggle with anger at myself and like, I'm supposed to be able to do this. And so really overcoming that was hard. And I think that there was a little bit of terror with my last pregnancy of wondering if this was going to turn out the same way as the 4 other losses. And so it changed how I felt about being pregnant, and really just, I remember telling my doctor, just get this baby into my arms. You know, after that we'll make other decisions, but just please get me this baby. And almost a desperation for, I really, really want to be a mom, and how can we do this? So it took a really fantastic medical team, and I can't say enough about my doctor and the nurses and the ultrasound techs and the lab techs. I know that there are a lot of medical facilities around here, and probably all of them are wonderful, and they're people with personal stories. But I have to say, my personal story, those are all men and women who held my hands and let me cry in their offices and showed me all sorts of love and support. And I don't know that I would have been able to heal or even move forward and have other healthy pregnancies if it were not for how fantastic they were.
That is amazing. Everyone deserves prime medical care. It doesn't matter what type of insurance you have, it doesn't matter who you are, what walk of life you came from. Everyone deserves to have a medical team that has their best interest at heart. I mean, that's the oath that they took to take care of their patient no matter what. So that is really wonderful that you had a team of people really looking out for you.
Oh yes, and you know, I think that pregnancy loss and infant loss, that is something that's very personal. I mean, we're not talking about, you know, ingrown hair or, you know, these other superficial problems that people have. We're talking about something that truly affects your life and your spirituality and the future of your family. And so in those moments, every person that interacts with you should be showing you compassion and care. And if they're not, then I would want those moms and dads to reach out to me with Share Hope and talk to me about that, because, you know, definitely at NEA Baptist, we should be offering, all of the people at the Women's Clinic and the Labor and Delivery Unit should be offering the same love and support that Share Hope offers. We're all a part of Share Hope at NEA Baptist.
Yes, ma'am. So if you would like to reach out, is the phone number 936-8400?
Yes.
Okay, so if you are a family or individual suffering from pregnancy loss, infant loss, please reach out and get the help that you need to work through your emotions. Not get over, but just work through your emotions so that you can live a seemingly normal, like whatever normal is, just so that you can kind of get through your day, from day to day. And these services are available to you. Please, please, please reach out to Miss Annie or Miss Anna if you're dealing with any type of grief. They are here for you. They are licensed social workers, so they know the ups and downs, left and right of you know, all these different situations. I'm sure that you have had a lot of experience during your clinicals and internships, and you're prepared for this. You were prepared for this.
Right. And one thing I do want to make a note of is that to participate in Share Hope or with the any of the charitable foundation services in the Center for Good Grief, you don't have to be a patient of NEA Baptist. You could have had the pregnancy or infant loss at any hospital at any time. We still have people that participate in Share Hope that had a child die 25, 30 years ago. We have people from all of our neighboring hospitals, and the services are free to you regardless of where the death happened. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for that. Do you have people, and I'm sure, maybe answer my own question, but do you have individuals that come in that are just simply angry? Like, they're grieving, but they're angry. They're at that anger stage that they're angry at everyone and everything and the whole situation.
Yes, there's really no wrong emotion when it comes to grief. And I think that to grieve in a healthy way, you're going to feel all sorts of different emotions that can often be uncomfortable, especially if you're not typically an angry person or somebody who, I have a lot of people who tell me I'm not a crier, and for some reason I'm crying all the time and I can't stop myself, and we're going to have to actively feel all of those emotions to reconcile with this loss.
All right, so when we come back from our other break, we still have a little time, but can you go through the stages of grief when we come back on the other side, so that people know that it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. This is normal. This is what happens with any type of loss. I mean, and why it's important to go through those stages to try to, again, transition through life and go about your day to day. And then we can also talk about, what's quote unquote normal as far as going back to work or, re-engaging in society and things of that nature. So I would love to really address those things when we come back from our break. We still have a few seconds. Miss Annie, would you like to give any type of encouragement to people that are dealing with this, say now, for more recent losses?
With a loss that is fresh and recent, the most encouraging thing that I could say is reach out and get the help that you feel like you need. So if you feel like you need extra support, reach out to us. If you don't feel like you're ready yet for that, that's fine too. We're here when you're ready for us at whatever stage that is. Even if it's just offering materials, or we have some self-care bags in my Share Hope office, come and get those things so that you can start to feel ready to heal.
Okay. All right, so we're going to leave it right there. And again, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the stages of grief, why it's important to go through those different stages so that you can get back to somewhat normal life. So please do not go away. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. Our Think Wealthy quote of the week comes from RLJ Company's chairman and CEO and America's first black billionaire, Robert L. Johnson.
The real thing when you talk about wealth creation is two ways you do it. One is you do savings and investments. Most African Americans don't save, and therefore if you don't save, obviously you can't invest. So what I'm trying to do is to do a couple things. One, I'm trying to say go to the huge pension funds, corporate and public, that hold a huge amount of this nation's wealth. And a big portion of that wealth comes out of the pockets of African Americans who pay to the pension fund. But unfortunately, very little of that money is managed by African Americans, because the rap on African Americans is, you guys don't know how to manage money.
To build real wealth, we must save and invest. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life, such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
Arkansas Early Learning offers child care activities and educational programs to children ages 0 to 5 that gives them a head start in life. Arkansas Early Learning is in the community at no cost. Applications at arearlylearning.org. That's arearlylearning.org or on Facebook at Arkansas Early Learning.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. I can't see everybody, but thank you for those that have tuned in, that have left comments. We really appreciate your time and your support. This is a hard topic to discuss, and we want to thank Miss Annie for sharing so openly about her story, about her losses. So thank you very much for that. And I hope that someone out there that's listening has been blessed and inspired, encouraged to get the help they need if they haven't before, or they now know how to help a family member or a friend that is dealing with the same thing. So I hope that everyone out there listening, shares this information. Please share the video. It's on the KLEK Facebook page. There's someone you know somewhere that has dealt with a loss of any kind. You personally have dealt with the loss. So even if it's not pregnancy or infant loss, you've dealt with the loss, and this is where the Center for Good Grief comes in.
Right.
And so, again, these services are free of charge. These are nonprofit organizations. Everything they offer is free. So please go out and get the help that you need. As stated before, we want to talk about the stages of grief and then why it is important to allow yourself to experience those stages.
Sure. Well, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she came up with the stages of grief in her early work. And so there are 5 stages. You have denial, and then anger, bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. And one thing that I think a lot of people might not understand about the stages is oftentimes they don't happen in order. Okay. We as people, we like to have lists of things. We like to have, okay, this is what I'm going to feel now, this is what I'm going to feel next. But with grief, it's very much your own experience. You may go from denial straight to depression, or you might just go straight into anger. So there are a lot of different ways to experience these stages, and you might skip a stage, and that's okay if you do skip a stage, because it is your own personal experience. You mentioned anger earlier, and that is such a natural response too, because in a lot of ways we know how to be angry, but sometimes we don't quite know how to feel sad or depressed. And so we put that emotional energy into anger instead of letting ourselves feel that sadness or that sense of helplessness that happens after a death. And so that is a very natural thing for someone to feel, because we know how to do that. And, with denial, as Annie mentioned earlier, the first thing that people often feel is the sense of shock. Oh, how did this happen? And you might not quite understand what it means that that person's not going to be coming home. And some people still even expect for their son or daughter or husband to walk through the door. And it just takes a little while for your mind to catch up to your heart. And that's the hard part about grief, is it's a whole body experience. It's physical, it's emotional, it's cognitive, and it's very spiritual. And it's your whole soul goes into grieving, because after a death, you search for meaning. Like Annie said, you're searching for a sense of purpose. And so the stages of grief we often look to, and a lot of people do go through the stages, but it might not be in the order that we expect.
And I want to highlight a little bit the bargaining. You see it sometimes in people who are considered more spiritual or religious. Right. Okay, God, well, if I do this, will you do, they're kind of going back and forth. What do you see often with individuals that come for help? We would share hope or with the Center for Good Grief. What are some of the bargaining techniques, some of the bargaining things that you've seen or experienced?
Sure, that's a good question. I think you're very right in saying that we often we still don't quite want to accept the death. And so our first response is to go to God and say, I'll be a better person, or I'll be a better mom or better dad. I'll come home earlier from work and spend time with them if, you could just bring them back. And for some people that is a necessary stage to go through because of that sense of guilt in a way that they feel. And so bargaining is our way of trying to find an answer to that guilt. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and sometimes I think bargaining is more prominent when you can anticipate a death is going to happen, and you're getting closer to knowing that there's going to be a death. And so you might go through the please, is there anything that we can do to stop this from happening? And sometimes there's not. And having to get to a point of understanding that no matter how much we bargain, this is going to happen.
I want to ask you, Miss Annie, during your different times, did you ever get to a point where, because you said you did question your faith, so that you get to a point where you felt you understood some of the why behind maybe why God allowed this to happen? Maybe there was some type of lesson or ministry moment in that moment that you were supposed to share or use as a teaching tool for somebody else?
I do think that it led me to where I am now in this stage of life, and maybe it's a God thing that when I went, I interviewed to be a therapist for the Center for Good Grief, and they reached out to me to see if I would be interested in also doing the Share Hope program, and I was not expecting that, and so I instantly jumped on that opportunity. Yes, that is a part of my heart. It is a job and ministry of the heart, and not just for employment. I think that it's important to, when you're given news that is the worst news that you could possibly hear, to have someone there that cares about you and loves you. And so I can definitely say that I know what it's like to love on those mamas and daddies and children that are losing siblings. Because of what I've experienced, I have nothing but love and compassion to give to those people. So that's kind of evolved over time. In the moment, and probably even last year at this time, I would have said, no, there's no purpose for it at all. It was just all tragic loss. But today I do feel like maybe that's where this has led me for a reason.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Miss Anna, can you tell us why it is important to go through these different stages? Like Miss Annie talked about, it took her some time, and some time ago she would have been like, no thank you.
Yes.
But eventually she did go through her different stages, and it did allow herself to come back get to a place where I am able to reach out and be integrated with society again and help other people. So why is it important?
Sure. Well, it's very important to go through the different stages of grief because you're going to be grieving, and it might take a while, but if you allow yourself to feel angry, if you allow yourself to feel sad, and to just experience the wholeness of the grief, and which includes all of these different stages, and we call it grief working through it, you'll make it through.
All right. Yeah. I can't thank you ladies enough for joining us today, for sharing this wonderful information. I really pray there's someone out there that's listening that have watched the video, will get the courage they need to reach out to you ladies. So I'm hoping to hear you have an influx of people coming to get help, get counseling. So. Yes. It's okay to get counseling. I think that stigma needs to be erased.
Yes.
That doesn't mean something is wrong with you, as in you're bad. Everyone at some point in their life needs some counseling. They need some therapy. They need to talk to somebody else that is licensed to handle the situation, no matter what it is. So during the month of October, while we're recognizing breast cancer and many other awareness issues, also recognize pregnancy and infant loss. What color is the ribbon for pink and blue?
Well, it's the color for pregnancy and infant loss is purple. They do have pink and blue mixed ribbons you can buy somewhere, but the actual color for the awareness is purple.
Okay, so forget about the color. Just recognize recognize this. I don't know what to call. Sorry. Just recognize pregnancy and infant loss, and share some support. Be a support system for someone that has gone through this. You don't know where they are. It may, again, be 5 or 10 years down the line for them, but they still have some emotions they're dealing with concerning that loss. So thank you, ladies, so very much. And please be on the lookout for activities that are coming up through Share Hope, with Share Hope and Center for Good Grief. Today, 5 o'clock at Executive, 1717.
Yes.
Executive Square, grand opening and ribbon cutting.
Yes.
All right, thank you, ladies, and I hope everyone out there has a great day, even though it's chilly.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those